All right. Hello, how are we doing today?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
Good, good. I'm well. I'm well. Can't complain. Thank you so much for allowing your time to be now. And with no further ado, could you give us an introduction of yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. So, my name is Steve Tyson, also known as Elect. I'm a hip hop artist, I'm an educator, I'm an activist, and I'm really looking forward to our conversation today. So, I guess a little more about me. I've been actively involved in music for as long as I can remember. I am always involved in education in some capacity. For over the last 20 years, I've been working in the field of youth development and in teaching. And I also spend a lot of my time, in addition to music and education, doing photography, doing a lot of freelance and nonprofit work, whether it's through organizations like City Year, or in addition to that, I also have my own program called Hip Hop is Voting, where I do a lot of voter registration with youth in the community, people who may not be registered to vote or have yet to register to vote. Um, and so just music, education, being involved in the community, and being civically engaged. Probably the big three things for me.
Thank you so much for that introduction. Thank you for such a great introduction. Can you tell us what led you to music?
So I would say what led me to music is probably the influence that my parents had on me, and seeing how they connected and engaged and interacted with music so much. Um, it was really inspiring for me. I mean, my mother is a, in addition to being an activist and a social worker, she is currently a dean and vice president in diversity work at the higher education space. And her work and immersion with people and culture and wanting to make sure that everybody feels represented and respected definitely shines through in the music and the messages that she listens to in the music. And so I was really inspired as a kid listening to that. And then for my father, being a visual artist and a painter, uh, his style of art specifically is abstract, and he's inspired predominantly by music and by other you know aesthetics of the African diaspora, but predominantly music. And so both of them were really inspirational for me in finding my own space and connection with music, and how I want to use that to manifest, the things that I do in my life. And that's what's led to it.
Okay, so you stated like for the influence of your family, that is what influence and encouragement from your family is what brought you to this love and passion for music.
Yeah, most definitely.
That's great. Did you participate in any music called scenery while in school?
So that's another good question. So I think that the opportunity to do the music that I wanted to do wasn't available in school. I mean, they had school band and school orchestra, but there wasn't, studio production and audio engineering and all of those things in the schools that I grew up in. And so my only outlets musically were taking piano lessons at the local mall, or playing trumpet in school band. And it really helped me, as far as learning how to read music and learning chords and song structure and things like that. But it wasn't ideal for somebody who really wanted to get into hip hop and rap. Um, but it was definitely informational for me, and it was really helpful in giving me a foundation more formally in the structure of music.
Okay. So through your your role out of high school, do you also participate in anything like within university?
Yeah, so when I was in college, I was a co-founder of the African Drumming Club. I also was a DJ and a host at the college radio station at Franklin and Marshall College. And it was through those two opportunities that, specifically the radio station, that really got me engaged and active in music. And some of my friends at the time also rapped and produced. And so we started developing those skills together. One of my friends, Dave Dennis, we ended up creating Just Listen Entertainment, which is my nonprofit organization in certain capacities, and it also it oversees the nonprofit branches of my businesses, but then it also oversees the for-profit aspects of it as well. So yeah, that was established and created during my time in college, and since then I've just continued to grow myself as an artist. So I've had opportunity to perform and develop my craft while I was in school, and some of my first rap concerts and performances were there. But my very first rap performance was all the way back when I was 5, in elementary school. So it definitely has been something that I've been carrying with me and developing since childhood. But college was probably the most intentional space where I was able to develop my craft for sure.
Right, so you stated like within the university is where your aspiration and passion for music was given like a stepping stone more so.
Yeah.
And how has that like af- impacted and affected you throughout your life outside of the university, both in a positive and negative way, if that's the thing.
So I would say that throughout any way that it's impacted me, all of it has been positive. There's just been the learning processes of even being an artist and a creative where you're trying something and you want to and you're trying to get an audience to receive it, and you might have to retool and start over again and recraft it and then put it out there, and then try again and try again and try again. There's so much resilience that is necessary to be a creative and to be an entrepreneur, and so attempting to do both of those and build those together was something that is still very difficult, but something I feel fulfilled in making sure that I complete and accomplish in my lifetime. And so I would say that throughout my journey, there's been a lot of speed bumps and a lot of obstacles to overcome, and making sure that my creative ambitions and my aspirations as an artist have still been centered regardless of anything and everything that's happened in my life was definitely difficult. But at the end of the day, I still know my purpose, and I know the outcomes that pursuing my purpose has had, not just for myself but for anybody who I've been able to be in contact with, and the majority of those people being my students and the folks that I've worked with. Um, and as I continue to put out my music and make my name known and get my voice heard, my music is the other outlet for that, and for people to get a better understanding of who I am, what I'm about, and why I'm here.
That's really good. That's really good. So you spoke about obstacles. If you don't mind, can you explain to us like what kind of obstacles did you encounter, and how were you able to overcome them, or how were you able to overcome them?
Yeah, so I mean, we talk about college being my formative years as a creative and as a musician. And it was also the same time that my parents were going through a divorce, and seeing how that impacted them and knowing the impact that it had on me, but then also witnessing the impact that it had on my sister. It was a very trying time, for a span of some years for my family, and us, being intentional at working through that and making sure that we're still as healthy and connected as a family as possible. I've also gone through, whenever I was getting my master's degree and was in grad school. the apartment building that I lived in burned down completely and was completely destroyed. And so I lost all of my material possessions and had to start all over again just 10 years ago. So there's a lot that has gone on. Those are just two examples, but just a lot of things that have gone on in my life that could have made me say, all right, well, I could put this dream on hold, or I could just, let me just make sure that I'm getting a job and making money and staying stable, quote unquote, in this society and in this system. But the reality of it is, I still need to feel fulfilled as a human being and in my purpose. And so, regardless of whatever jobs it is I need to take, or however many jobs it is I need to take, my passion and my creativity and my business and my purpose will be maximized, and that will be, what I end up being known for. That's just the path that I'm on, and the route that I'm choosing to take.
Okay. And so we say like music was like your therapeutic um escape through some of these obstacles that you encountered.
So a lot of the music, especially whenever it came to, the time that my parents' divorce was going on, I never released. The music that I did put out was stuff that was more generally accessible, and things that I also felt were less private and personal. But I was making diss tracks to, my parents and all types of stuff. Where it was just like, man, I'm not putting this out there. I'm not trying to, put folks on blast like that. But I needed that outlet and that catharsis. Um, Same thing whenever I went through the fire, and I lost all my rhyme books and and so it made me really tap into freestyling more, and changing how I even write my rhymes to this day. Where before the fire happened, I'd be writing lyrics and writing lyrics and writing lyrics, and then trying to figure out what beat things could match to, or what they. And after that, it's been letting the feeling and the vibe and the emotion and the energy of the song and the music dictate then what lyrics I'm putting toward it, and how I'm rapping, and the style and the flow and the cadence and all that stuff. So it's let me be a little more free in even how I express myself creatively, which has also had a positive impact in the development of myself as an artist as well.
That is quite a way to utilize your gift through like you encounter obstacles and your mindset allow you to like you know we do it differently, like your the fire wise, like you could have just like forget about it, no more rapping, or I'm sorry, no more no more musical artists or art that you're going to perform, but instead you decide to perform in a different way, in which from that day on have created such a profound artist such as yourself, which is a really great way to look at things. How will you encourage individual? How will you, if you were to speak to a 17-year-old you, what would you tell him, and how will you tell it to him?
That's an excellent question. So I think that if I were had the opportunity to talk to a 17-year-old version of myself, I would encourage that person to be more fearless and less judgmental to change. So instead of seeing YouTube come into existence, which I was fortunate enough to be able to do when I was 17, 18, was also the same year that YouTube was created. Instead of being like, and my mentality at the time was, why would anybody want to see me? Why would anybody want to see me? And not owning that this is an opportunity and a space and a platform for me to get my stuff out there. And I think that that was a byproduct of a lot of the social conditioning of the time, where it was about having enough perceived value to the general public to give yourself a platform. But around that time, 2003, 2004, when YouTube and Facebook and all these things are starting to come into existence, and Twitter and all these things, it's like, instead of it being how society was and how the society that I grew up in was, we determine if you have value for then you to have this platform. It was, here's a platform for anyone, and you can create your value and your worth. And it took me way too long to actually realize that that's the space and place that these social media entities ended up growing into. And so, like, because I mean, I can think and recall very vividly of my friend, even friends who were creatives at the time, and you know, visual artists and videographers and photographers. Whether it's Tumblr and all, you name the social media platform, as they're getting invented and popularized, some of our mindsets were still stuck in the era pre-social media, because that was how we grew up. And so there's a advantage and a disadvantage to being alive and aware and having the opportunity to embrace change whenever it's happening. Um, and so for myself, being somebody who was born into an analog world, and it was very quickly digital by the time I graduated high school, it was, there was a lot of a learning curve that I, in hindsight, could have gotten so much farther ahead of than I was at the time. So what I would say to my 17-year-old self is really just take advantage of the opportunities ahead of you. Don't allow the perception of judgment to hold you back from putting yourself out there, and allow the critique that you do get from putting yourself out there to only make you better, and not allow it to manifest into self-doubt and lacking your own esteem for your own self-worth. So yeah, those are the things that I would make sure that the younger self of me is aware of, just so that I'm able to do the things that I'm doing right now at 37 and maximizing those at 17, rather than the path that I ultimately ended up on, which it's not a negative at all. Everybody takes their time to learn whatever they need to learn, how they need to learn it. And so now I'm in a space where it's just about maximizing that with all of the time that I do have left too, and not thinking about it as lost time or anything like that.
Okay, that's a great way to look at how things change drastically throughout the growing um part of our life,
Hmm.
It's really great aspect to think of things and to realize like, you know, it's how life goes and you encounter different growth throughout your the state of life that you encounter as it
Hmm.
goes on. And so how do you, if you don't mind me asking, because we did met at the rec center, how
Yeah.
has that particular um if that center has impacted you, how has it, if it has not, how do you think it could?
Yeah, Rec Philly has been one of the best spaces for me to be in as a creative. And there's always the opportunity to be there more than you currently are. But every time that I've gone there, every session that I book, even without just booking a session, just pulling up and using the networking space and the co-working space, and or if it's different events that are going on, everybody there is about the same things that we all are. And just how can we use this to maximize ourselves as creatives, and to build community with other folks just like us. And I was at the event that we met at was the book launch for Will Toms and the book that he had just released. And when I was there, and in addition to the opportunities of meeting cool people like yourself, I was also able to connect and see so many other artists and creatives that I've known through the 11 years that I've lived out here in Philly. And I'm seeing Cage Bird and Marquise Devon and Xavier Luciano, and I'm running all these people. I'm like, yo, like, Yeah, like these are all the people. Alonzo Goodman floating around. I mean, there's so many different people and good people that are just around. Ebenezer Zamani, I've seen. I mean, the list can just go on and on and on and on and on. So, um, yeah, it's just been a great opportunity through Rec Philly to connect with other members, connect with people who are just in the space and visiting, and just see the community that I've been a part of since I've lived out here in Philly, using this space to thrive and still build and connect. It's been fantastic.
It's great that such center does exist for artists such as yourself and many, because indeed I'm also a member. And so I do agree with all that you stated about how that center has connected and also allow you to grow in a way as well too.
Hmm.
And who who has, beside your mother and your father, who would you say have motivated you, encouraged you throughout your life?
The biggest motivators and encouragers for me, outside of my parents and my sister and extended family, are probably some of my closer friends from college. You know, I mentioned Dave Dennis before, Ashton Williams, Derek Pettiford, Oliver Tingling, Joaquin Hamilton, all these people. Kaya Gidron. The list just goes on and on and on. Mike Armstrong, Shadow Tarver. I could just keep naming folks. They continue to inspire me. And even friends from college who might not live in this area and have gone on and are doing incredible things with their careers. Shout out to my homie Aviel A. Young. He's doing incredible job out in Hollywood. Stunt choreographer, fight sequence coordinator, stunt double for so many people in so many movies and shows that you've all seen, everybody's seen. My homie Randy Wilkins, went to college with him too. His new documentary, The Captain, documentary about Derek Jeter, is going to be premiering on ESPN. There's just so many people who encourage me, but also even through their own work inspire me to continue to keep pushing forward and moving forward. Because we all had these dreams. I can think of each and every one of us as teenagers talking about the things we want to do with our lives and our careers, and the opportunity for many of us to maximize that and live those things out is phenomenal. And so I don't take any of that for granted, and I make sure to just stay tapped in with all my brothers as best as I can. And I'm always inspired by them and love connecting with them every chance I get.
And as really is a great, it's great to have a tribe behind you. That's really good. That's
Yep.
really good. So as an artist, have you created any new, or what was your last creation that you created?
So over the past year, I mentioned Xavier Luciano before. We've been working together to create some visual complements to my music, and whether it's been Xavier solo, myself solo, or us in collaboration, we've directed and edited 6 music videos so far, and I've put out songs for music videos for my songs BLM, Degrees, Time, Make It Happen, and most recently We Outside, and then a new video called Old School. And yeah, those are the things that I've been focusing on a lot lately. I've put out my debut studio album just last year. It's called Intellectual Property, and things that'll be happening, throughout the rest of this year and into next year. I have a podcast, the Style Free Podcast. It's hosted by myself and my father. My dad is also a professor and an educator and a visual artist, as I mentioned before. And so we talk about, history, family, culture, music, comic books, movies, you name it, we're talking about it. And so we have new episodes coming out bi-weekly throughout the summer and the fall every year. And then I also have a new project coming out, a new music project coming out, tentatively titled "Give Us Free," and it's produced by this incredible producer from Harrisburg. His name is Bmar, Brandon Martinez. Shout out to him. Working on my second studio album as well. In addition to that EP I was just talking about. And that one's tentatively titled Freshest Professor. That'll also be the next music video that Xavier and I are putting out. Yeah, there's a lot of things coming down the pike for sure that I'm really excited about. And I can't wait to, share more with you and your audience. I'm also going to be teaching at Arcadia University this fall about the history of hip hop and its role in social justice. And this fall, I'll also be debuting that lecture course as something for the community where people can just sign up and tune in to virtual lectures with me and learn about the history of hip hop culture, who started it, how they started it, why they started it, and the impact that it's had on the rest of the world. So, whole lot of stuff coming up, and I'm really looking forward to sharing it out with everybody.
That's really good. That's really good. Um, if you could tell, so within all this that you are encountering, so many creation that's arriving throughout the year and so forth, and currently right now, if you could tell, within like 30 years from now, a future you 30 years from now, what will you do? What will you tell them?
If I could talk to myself 30 years from now, I would just tell them, which is the same thing I'm telling myself right now: hit the gym, get in shape, make sure that you're healthy and you're really you're just keeping yourself physically fit and good to go, because my rap career is just taking off and I'm 37. So in 30 years I'm gonna be 67, and I'm damn sure gonna be ripping and rocking stages through the rest of my 30s, my 40s, my 50s, and my 60s. I'm definitely not gonna stop, and so making sure that I'm in top tier condition, ready to go and rock the mic. That's my biggest thing, and beyond that, I'll have everything else handled.
That's great. So could you if you could you give a motivational statement to the audience?
So I guess depending on who you are, where you're listening, how you're listening, why you're listening, what you're going through while you're listening, depending on all of those things, I would say no matter what, just do your damnedest to be a good person. Just try your best to be a good person to yourself, to the people around you, and to really do your best to walk in truth and light, because everything else only slows you down, clouds your vision, corrupts your spirit, and you don't need any of that. The best thing you can do is just walk in your purpose, walk in your path, walk in your light, no matter what that is and how that manifests itself, and just trying to be the best version of you that you can be. And, hopefully this world, one person at a time, can end up being a lot better than it is right now, because we're starting to get out of control out here. So we need everybody to do their part and just to be their best self.
So I really appreciate you allowing your time to be captured by now by TTIN. And is there a handler that you wish to leave with us?
Yeah, most definitely. So anybody can feel free to follow me on social media. Elect217, ELLECT217. There's two L's in there. ELLECT217 on Twitter, on TikTok, on Instagram. Same name. You'll find me, and you'll find all my work too.
And we are really grateful for you allowing us to have you present on our podcast. And with no further ado, we at TCIN would like to wish you well and know that no matter what happens in life, continue with your ambition, your passion, and know that your time will always be now. Thank you so much. And